very beautiful morning out there, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers, your daily drive for news, making major headlines in today's newspaper. Together, we shall examine stories shaping our nation, of course, from the economy to politics to security, business, health, education, sports, and other issues affecting us. My name is Florence Ibarema, and this is In the Papers, your daily drive for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. We have headlines from the nation's newspaper this morning. We have headlines from the Hope newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, the Sun newspaper, and the Punch newspaper. Beginning from the Hope newspaper this Tuesday morning, where we have Ayedatiwa pays tribute to Akeredolu on 70th posthumous birthday. Still on the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Bajabia Miller honors ICPC's invitation. Yes, away from the Hope newspaper this morning and now to the Punch, where we have Obi signed one-term presidency in a court. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning, how CBN opened domiciliary accounts. Yes, still on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Ondo Labour accuses teaching hospital of union victimization. NUJ charges Gombe appointees to embrace transparency. That headline is coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. Yes, still on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have a talk on Ocean 2026. Delicate campaigns rises Beavers PVC concerns. Away from the Punch and now to Daily Post, where we have we did not borrow all 80 trillion naira. Nigerian government clarifies. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. The program centers around the newspaper review, where we review and preview headlines coming to you today on the day's newspaper. And of course, beginning from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have I Get That You Are pays tribute to Akeredolu on 70th posthumous birthday. Now, the details. Ondo State Governor Honorable Lucky Ayedatiwa has paid a glowing tribute to his late predecessor Arakunrin Oluwarotimi Akeredolu SAN, describing him as a courageous leader whose legacy continues to inspire the people of the state and Nigeria. In a message commemorating what would have been Akeredolu's 70th birthday, Ayedatiwa said he joined the Akeredolu family, the people of Ondo State, and the countless admirers across the country in celebrating the life and enduring legacy of the late former governor, who he described as his leader, mentor, and immediate predecessor. The governor noted that although Akeredolu was no longer alive, the idea he stood for, his courage, conviction, and unwavering commitment to the progress of Ondo State remains a source of inspiration. He said the late Akeredolu led the uncommon boldness, defended justice without compromising, and devoted himself to service of Ondo State and the nation. Reflecting on their working relationship, Aiyedatiwa expressed profound gratitude for the privilege of serving alongside the late governor, saying the confidence Akeredolu reposed in him, his guardians, and the responsibility entrusted to him had continued to shape his approach to leadership and public service. The governor also reaffirmed his commitment to building on the foundation laid by Akeredolu and sustaining his vision of a safer, stronger, and most prosperous Ondo State for the benefit of the people. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Hope newspaper this morning with this headline. Ayedatiwa pays tribute to Akeredolu on 70th posthumous birthday. Still on the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Ondo distributes 37,500 tree seedlings to revive forest boost cocoa. Now the details. The Ondo State government has distributed 37,500 indigenous tree seedlings to promote sustainable cocoa production and protect forest reserves across the state. Governor Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa kicked off the distribution at Akpomo in Akura South local government area, describing the initiative as a major step towards restoring degraded forests and securing the future of the state cocoa industry. Represented by the Commissioner for Agriculture and Forestry, Engineer Leye Akinola, the governor said the initiative underscores his administration's commitment to sustainable agriculture through agroforestry. He noted that Ondo State and Ondo remains Nigeria's leading cocoa producing state, accounting for more than 40% of the country's cocoa output, with about 350,000 hectares under the cultivation. Ayedatiwa acknowledged that while cocoa farming has sustained rural livelihood and boosted foreign exchange earnings, its expansion has also contributed to deforestation. He explained that integrating indigenous trees into cocoa farms would restore the biodiversity, improve soil fertility, protect water shield, and strengthen climate resilience. He added that the program aligns with the European Union deforestation regulation, which requires cocoa exported to Europe to originate from the land that had not been deforested since December 31, 2020. According to him, compliance with position Ondo's cocoa as premium sustainable produced commodity in the international market. Describing the exercise as more than just a tree planting campaign, the governor said it is an investment in the state's environment, economy, and future generations. He urged beneficiaries to plant, nurture, and protect the seedlings, stressing that the program's success depends on their survival. For details of that news, see the Hope newspaper with this headline. Ondo distributes 37,500 tree seedlings to revive forest and boost cocoa. Still taking story from Ondo State, where we have this coming to you from the Punch newspaper this morning. Ondo Labour accuses teaching hospital of union victimization. Now the details. The organized labor union in Ondo State have warned the management of the Federal University of Technology Akure Teaching Hospital against alleged victimization and harassment of workers in the establishment. The union under the auspices of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress alleged that the FUTA workers were being victimized for belonging to the labor union. This was contained in a letter addressed to the hospital management and jointly signed by the state chairman of the NLC and TUC, Demola Olopade and Clement Fawashi. A copy of the letter was made available to our correspondent on Monday. According to the letter, the labor union said it was the right of every public workers to belong to a trade union. The union also accused the hospital management of breaching the memorandum of understanding guiding the transition process from the state to the federal government by excluding workers whose name appeared on the agreed nominal roll. They urged the hospital to ensure the enrollment of all eligible workers on the integrated personnel and payroll information system without discrimination. The union further demanded that the hospital should immediately discontinue any practice that requires or pressure workers to renounce or disclaim membership of any lawful trade union, seize every act capable of victimizing, intimidating, or discriminating against labor leaders, the trade union members, and demonstrate full compliance with the provision of the Memorandum of Understanding. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline. Ondo Labour accuses teaching hospital of union victimization. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Namadi laments officials' absence after unscheduled visit. Now the details. Jigawa State Governor Umar Namadi on Monday expressed strong displeasure over the absence of his top government officials from their offices after finding several doors locked. Arewa Punch reports that Namadi had embarked on an unscheduled visit to the Jigawa State Government Secretariat complex in Duse, only to find several of the government officials' offices locked. The correspondent learned that the surprise inspection came amid increased complaint of absenteeism, lateness, and low productivity among some top government officials, appointees, and other government workers, including the permanent secretaries. The governor, it was gathered, arrived at the Secretariat complex at about 10 a.m. to assess how government workers were conducting their duties. In a recorded video cited by Iowa Punch on Monday, after inspection, Governor Namadi was seen moving through corridors and knocking on locked doors at the Jigawa State Government Secretariat Complex in Dusey. During the visit, the governor personally went from office to office across different ministries, departments, and agencies at the Secretariat to physically verify staff attendance and the level of service delivery. The governor was seen accompanied by a few aides as he checked attendance register and questioned the few workers present on why their superiors and colleagues were absent from duty. The video footage showed the governor during the inspection meeting several offices locked, with many staff absent from their duty post despite the day being a work day, and the day had even been dragged well into the working hours. The governor, who voiced his dissatisfaction over the attitude of some workers who treated government jobs with levity, stressed that his administration will not condone indiscipline, lateness, or lack of commitment for any public servant. If their story aligns with your interests, it is on the pages of the Punch newspaper today with this headline: Namadi laments officials' absence after unscheduled visits. Still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Northern Christians query 1.9 billion naira church share in 8 billion naira religious budget. Now the details. The Northern Christian Association has asked the federal government to explain what it described as a wild disparity in the allocation of about 8.5 billion naira for church and mosque project in the 2026 appropriation bill, warning that the imbalance raises concern over equity and equal treatment of citizens. The association said it was not opposed to government support for religious projects, but insisted that such interventions must be guarded by the constitutional principle of fairness, transparency, and justice. In a statement issued on Monday by its chairman, Reverend Joseph Ayab, the NCA said reports indicated that about 1.9 billion naira was earmarked for several churches related projects, while approximately 6.14 billion naira was allocated to 52 mosques related projects in the 2026 budget. According to the association, the disparity had reinforced concerns among many Christians over what it described as a persistent pattern of unequal treatment and selective implementation of government policy. Ayab said, how long would Nigerians continue to read stories that exposes the hypocrisy of our leaders? The partiality, lack of equality, lack of equity, and unequal treatment of citizens by government and political leaders are among the major factors responsible for division, distrust, segregation, and the absence of genuine unity and love among Nigerians. He added that while Christians had continued to exercise restraint in the interest of national peace and unity, successive governments had often mistaken such patience for weakness. The NCA urged the Nigerians had repeatedly witnessed actions exposing inconsistency in governance, warning that perceived discrimination and double standard were eroding public trust and national cohesion. The association stressed that its position should not be interpreted as opposition to Islam, Christianity, or government collaboration with faith-based organizations, but rather as a call for fairness in the distribution of public resources. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline. Northern Christians query 1.9 billion naira church share in the 8 billion naira religious budgets. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is still in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. And of course, taking the headlines and news from the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have NUC pushes for new minimum wage. Now, the details. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC pushes for new minimum wage. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has announced plans to begin a nationwide campaign for the review of the national minimum wage while pushing for the introduction of a national minimum pension to improve the welfare of retirees. The NLC President Joe Ajaero disclosed this during an inauguration of the Godwin Abumisi Pensioners Legacy House and the multipurpose hall in Abuja, where he stressed that the welfare of pensioners should receive the same attention as that of serving workers. According to Ajaero, organized labor can no longer advocate for improved wages for active employees without also demanding better living conditions for those who have retired after years of service to the nation. Describing the current condition of many retirees as unacceptable, the Labour leader said it was a historic injustice for citizens who devoted their productive years to national service to be left in poverty after retirement. Ajaero attributed the worsened plight of pensioners to the rising cost of living and persistent inflation, noting that the economy realities had significantly eroded the value of pension. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Sun newspaper this morning with this headline: NLC pushes for new minimum wage. Still on the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have 40 feared dead as boat capsized in Jigawa. Now the details. No fewer than 40 women and children are feared dead after a canoe capsized in the Ringhim local government area of Jigawa State. Jigawa State Police Command confirmed the incident yesterday, saying one body had been recovered while searching and rescue operations were continuing for the remaining passengers. In a statement on its official Facebook page, the command said emergency responders were working to recover those still missing. Director of Planning at the Jigawa State Emergency Management Agency, Mohammed Sanusi, also confirmed the incident, saying the passengers were mainly female farmers and agricultural laborers traveling by canoe when the accident occurred. According to him, the cause of the boat mishap has yet to be established, while emergency personnel, local divers, and community volunteers had intensified search efforts in the area. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline: 40 feared dead as boat capsized in Jigawa. Yes, still taking headlines from the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have NAN's appeal to Education Minister for swift release of outstanding federal scholarship funds. Now the details. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has appealed to the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, to urgently facilitate the disbursement of all outstanding federal government scholarship programs owed to beneficiaries from 2024 till date. In a Monday statement signed by its National Public Relations Office, Comrade Obida David, Nan said the continued delay in payment has become a matter of profound concern to students and their families across the country. The association said the nation's secretariat had received numerous complaints from affected beneficiaries whose academic pursuits and personal welfare have been significantly impacted by the prolonged delay. Nance noted that the non-disbursement of funds had left many beneficiaries struggling to meet tuition obligation, accommodation expenses, research costs, and other essential education needs. The student body acknowledged the commitment of the federal government and the Federal Ministry of Education to expanding access to quality education and advancing policies to promote education excellence. The association expressed confidence in the ministries appreciate the importance of timely scholarship payment, adding that prompt disbursement would provide relief to affected students and reinforce public confidence in the federal government scholarship scheme. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Sun newspaper with this headline: Nance appealed to Education Minister for swift release of outstanding federal scholarship funds. Yes, away from the Sun newspaper now to Daily Post, where we have Federal High Court stops FCCPC from issuing license. Now, the details. The Federal High Court in Lagos on Monday held that Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCC) has no authority to issue licenses but can only oversee airtime and data credit service. The court clarified that the Commission's power functions alongside those of the Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC) rather than replacing them. Justice Ambrose Alagos, who delivered the judgment in suit number FHC/L/CS/760/2026, determined that the DEON Consumer Lending Regulation 2025 falls within the statutory and constitutional power of the FCCPC. Furthermore, the judge emphasized that the relationship between the FCCPC and sector-specific regulators is one of complementarity, stating that concurring means coexisting, not displacement. The court confirmed the precedent. The court confirmed the precedence of the FCCPC in matters of competition and consumer protection as outlined in Section 104 and 105 of the FCCPA 2018, while also safeguarding the NCC's technical licensing and the prudential duties as defined by the Nigerian Communication Act 2023. For details of that news, see Daily Post newspaper with this headline: Federal High Court stops FCCPC from issuing licensing. Still on the pages of Daily Post newspaper this morning, where we did not borrow all 80 trillion naira. Nigerian government clarifies. Now the details. The federal government has denied claims that President Bola Tinubu's administration borrowed about 80 trillion naira within 3 years. According to the government, the figure is misleading and largely reflects accounting changes rather than new loans. Financial Minister and Coordinating Minister of the Economy Taiwo Oyedele made the clarification while speaking to the Senate Committee on Finance during a briefing on the country's economy. Lawmakers had questioned reports that the current administration borrowed about 80 trillion naira in addition to the 75 million debt it inherited. However, Oyedele said the figures being circulated and reported by some media outlets do not show the actual amount of fresh borrowing. According to the minister, the sharp fall in the value of the naira increased the naira value of Nigerians' foreign debt because the country's total debt is recorded in naira. Oyedele also said about 33 trillion naira was added to the debt stock after the National Assembly approved the securitization of the Ways and Means Advance. It stressed that this was not a new borrowing but a formal recognition of existing obligation. For details of that news, see the Daily Post newspaper with this headline: We did not borrow all 80 trillion naira. Nigerian government clarifies. Still taking headlines from Daily Post, where we have this impeachable offense. Rep members fumes over poor budget implementation. Now the details. The lawmaker representing Borno North Senatorial District, Muhammad Monguno, has described as an impeachable offense failure to implement the capital budget. Monguno said this on Monday at the Senate Committee on Finance on the states of the nation's economy, where the Minister of Finance Taiwo Oyedele was responding to questions from the lawmakers. He said, and I quote, "Where are these revenues going to if the 2025 budget has not been implemented? And where have we we have rolled over 70% of 2025 to 2026 with the promise of 30%, with the promise that 30% will be implemented before March. Up to March, even 30% was not implemented." The National Assembly has to extend the lifespan of the budget up to September to allow government to implement just 30% component of the 2025 budget. The issue of 2026 had not been raised at all. So you do not think this is contradictory, or where are these revenues going to the extent that the budget is not being implemented? For better understanding of that news, see Daily Post newspaper with this headline. Rep members are fumes over poor budget implementation. Yes, you're welcome back. The program is still in the paper as your daily nugget for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Now taking headlines from the Punch newspaper, talking Ocean 2026. A delicate campaign raises Beaver's PVC concerns. Now the details. The Mole Campaign Council has the group leading the re-election campaign of Ocean State Governor Ademola Adeleke has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission to avoid the lapses witnessed during some recently conducted off-cycle election. Addressing journalists in Oshobo on Monday, the Director General of the Campaign Council, Lere Oyewumi, alleged that during of Sako and by-elections in Ogun, Oyo, Jigawa, and Ekiti State, individuals suspected to be miscreants voters were issued permanent voters card shortly before voting. Oyewumi also raised concerns over the deployment of insufficient ballot papers and other sensitive materials, alleged that already thumb-printed ballot papers were distributed during the 2026 Ekiti State governorship election. He said the obstacle election in Ekiti State and the FCT area council election were also marred by technical challenges associated with the Biomedia voters accreditation system. The lawmaker further alleged that during the recent election in Anambra, Ekiti, and the FCT, political parties that did not feed candidates in the poll appeared on both ballot papers and result sheets used for the election. For more details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Adeleke campaign raises Beavers PVC concerns. Yes, away from the Punch and now to the Guardian newspaper, where we have Nigeria. Others urge improved correctional reforms in Africa. Now the details. Managers of prisons and correctional institutions across Africa have stressed that there cannot be a meaningful criminal justice reform without strong and well restored, well sourced prison and correctional system capable of securing managing offenders while preparing them for successful reintegration into society. They spoke at the just concluded African Correctional Service Association ACSA conference in Abuja, organized in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Considering the increasing prison population, overcrowding, security concerns, and growing demand for rehabilitation, reforms, and reintegration, the delegate noted that technology has become indispensable to effectively management of inmate and institutional security. Against this background, they called on African government to reposition correctional service as strategic national institution, stating that improvement in prisons and corrections ultimately contribute to safer community, lower and improve public confidence in the administration of justice. Furthermore, they recommend the establishment of a dedicated prisons and correctional governance platform with a regional organization such as the African Union, ECOWAS, the Southern African Development Committee, and other regional box participation. Participants also proposed the creation of a standing committee to to prioritize to pre to periodically convey the concerned ministers, head of correctional service, deployment partners, and other key stakeholders to review emerging challenges, harmonize policies, and promote regional cooperation and coordinate continental reforms. For details of that news, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline. Nigeria, others urged improve correctional reforms in Africa. Yes, as we wrap up today's edition of In the Papers, we hope we've been able to share stories that shape the nation's newspaper, and of course today, and give you a better understanding of what the paper is saying. Remember, headlines informs us, but understanding the story behind them empowers us and makes us better know what the stories are about. Of course, until we come your way again tomorrow, same time, same station, we implore you to keep it locked on iPower 102.7 FM because we have least of endless entertaining, informative, and educative programs for your listening pleasure. On behalf of the production team, my name is Florence E. Barima, and I'm saying